Hi everyone, welcome to In the Spotlight by GigFinesse, the series you come to learn all about all aspects of the entertainment industry. My name is Bianca and I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Jackie Hinstorff. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's good to be
Taking
here.
the time.
Yeah.
So you work as the Regional Director of Member Experience at Invited Clubs. Tell me a little bit about that. What do you do?
Yeah, great question. So I've been at Invited for about 1.5 years now. So when we talk about member experience in general, the minute a member joins our club, our team is in charge of ensuring everything and anything. They get plugged in, they have a great time at the club, and they join us for that. So my role is mainly supporting all of our teams through those initiatives.
That's incredible. How did you get into the whole hospitality sector?
Yes, great question. I just love hospitality. There's something about it when you bring people together and just the connection with gathering, and I wanted to be a part of that. And so with hospitality, I started out working in professional sports and just had a love for sports hospitality through that. And then golf, obviously with COVID, I feel like a lot of times became so much more of a popular sport because it was outdoors, people were able to enjoy it. But a lot of my luxury client partners were in the golf scene, and that's how I got started with Invited.
How was the shift from sports to Invited with the golf clubs?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of similarities, a lot of crossover when it comes to connecting with people and creating moments that matter. I think the shift in general is demographics. So as we talk about just getting to know people and having a story that matters, that's probably one of my favorite things on the golf side. It's a lot more high touch, it's a lot more high-end clientele, and having other professional sports team background experience on the premium services side and suite side, there's a lot of crossover there too. That's probably my favorite so far since coming into the golf business.
Yeah, that's incredible. Tell me a little bit more about Invited Clubs.
Yeah, so we are the largest privately owned private golf and country club business. We also have a sector, what we call our city clubs and social clubs. So kind of similar to this look, feel, vibe. We've got about 26 of those across the entire country. So within Invited, we believe in building relationships and enriching lives. And that is the core of our business. So when it comes to those priorities, we make sure that we always get back to that storytelling piece in everything that we do. I think overall, one of the largest things with Invited, we were formerly Club Corp, so recently went through a rebrand, and with that rebrand comes a lot of new, refreshed perspective and vision of just the type of members that we're so excited and grateful to call part of our Invited family.
You mentioned really building that connection also with your consumers, with your members, and Invited is a membership-based company. How do you build those connections? What kind of strategies do you focus on when you're planning your year ahead?
It's a great question. So I look at it as a three-prong approach. So I like to stay with the integrity of our business, and then the heartbeat of the club, and then the storytellers. So when we talk about the integrity of our business at Invited, really sticking to those priorities and the pillars of our business that we represent. So transparency goes such a long way. We believe in having fun. We believe in member experience. I'm so grateful that that's one of the main pillars that is a priority for us. And so in everything that we do, delivering on that. Then when it comes to just being the heartbeat of the club, we believe in creating a place that's a home away from home for our members. We want them to feel like it's a family. We want it to feel natural and intentional, and not a lot of times I feel like the perception of country clubs is it can feel just a little pretentious, and that's not who we are, what we represent. We want it to feel like a family every time someone comes into the club. And then when we talk about storytelling, just knowing the story, knowing our members, knowing those preferences. So as we talk about strategies and planning out for the year, making sure that we're being really intentional with that along the way.
I love that you talked about really making it seem like a family and having that level of comfort and that good connection with your customers and with your members, and that's really beautiful. What is a typical club like? What does a typical club look like? And also, in what occasions would you bring in a musician, bring in an artist?
Great question. So I love this because we don't have any club that is the same. And every club you walk into would tell you that. We're different, we have a different story, we have a different membership demographic. So when it comes to music in general, we love having the intentionality, and I know I talked about that a little bit, but just the experience that music brings. So when we look at our club demographic and we look at the makeup of our members, we say, all right, what is their normal genre of music that they would lean into being, let's say, the age of 40 to 55. And so finding bands that sit with that. But then also we have a lot of clubs that are kind of in that young professional, newer family build. And so we love to attract that too. And then families. Families is probably another one of our core demographics that we lean into. So a lot of those cover bands, a lot of those are really fun and unique groups that just bring the party. And that's probably one of my favorite things about partnering with GigFinesse is that natural partnership that brings the party where it makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. Also that Invited has such a range of their members as well and the demographics and really bringing in different artists depending on the demographic.
Right.
What are some of the other benefits of working with GigFinesse that you realized over our time working together?
Absolutely. So full source vendor, I know that's a word. Katie and I talk about buzzwords all the time. I can't tell you how easy and seamless it has been to have one connection, one person that you just share, hey, here's our demo, here's what we're looking for, and then the team takes care of the rest. We're so grateful for that, and just also the fun, genuine relationship. I think that goes such a long way from a partnership perspective. A lot of times in business, you meet clients that just have a different perception of the business, and with GigFinesse, the team has already understood a lot of our business in 2 seconds, and it just feels like such a natural, great friendship and relationship we're super grateful to have.
So you mentioned before as well that all of your clubs are different and the demographics are different as well. So overseeing so many different clubs in different markets as well, how do you manage to keep the brand while also keeping the authenticity of each club?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it goes back to that three-prong approach. So the integrity of the business, knowing the overarching vision, we all are part of one team, one company. So staying within those pillars, within not only member experience, but also Invited, but the heartbeat of the club. And so when we come to that family demographic makeup and the authenticity that comes with that, really knowing our members, and so knowing their preferences, knowing the things that they attend, the things that they like, their wine, their food and beverage preferences. At the end of the day, for us, it's really about making sure that we know our people inside and out in the best ways that we can, but also building a place where they feel like they can gather and make it feel like home.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned really getting to know your customers as well. How do you kind of go about that? What kind of strategies do you implement to get to know them, to get feedback, and to really continue developing your approach to just build that connection with them?
Yeah, so in hospitality in general, I feel like it's kind of a part of Hospitality 101, is asking those questions, getting to know them from the very beginning. And so a part of member experience, a big part is onboarding. So the minute that someone joins our club, our team is in charge of just ensuring that they get the basics. So not only just knowing who they are, how many people are in their family, the things that they love, but their preferences that matter. And sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different, but we really try to do a one-to-one approach, or we have what we call the Club 101 that engages people from the very beginning, and we invite them into the space and share all the incredible things that there is to do at the club. But we create a lot of personalization along the way, and I think that's probably the greatest secret that I love about hospitality is it's easier to have an industry that really dives into that and taps into that.
Considering everything that GigFinesse has done with Invited up until now, what do you kind of hope to get in the future, and what are kind of your dreams from that partnership?
Yeah, so first thing that comes to mind is more data analytics. I think as our team grows in strategy and as our company grows in vision, that's something that I've loved so far is the genuine intentionality of really knowing artists and how artists can connect and create an experience around that. Analytics, what I bring up is I would love to see a little more of just the reach. So not only understanding from a social perspective how the artists engage, but what demographics do they really speak to that makes sense, and then where has that success been, and then how can we implement that and build a strategy around that together.
Yeah, that's incredible. Up until now, what do you think, like from personal experience as well, what do you think is the greatest benefit of working with GigFinesse from a venue perspective?
Yeah, I keep going back to the one-stop shop. So I think the full source vendor goes such a long way. Billing, when we talk about just financing and just ensuring that everything's taken care of from start to finish. But I love the intentionality of just the relationship building that the team has done such a great job of not only connecting with our team, but really just making it feel like it's a partnership that we can trust. And I think that trust goes such a long way when you're working with new people. But just ensuring that nothing gets left behind and no stone is not uncovered. I think that's probably the hardest thing with event planning is, there's just so many things that go into it. And music, with being such a big, I call it vibe, vibes on vibes, music brings so much of that.
Absolutely.
And so making sure that we have the right group, the right band, they show up on time, and then not only do they deliver an incredible experience, but they're engaging with our members and everybody that shows up at the club.
Amazing. What is one piece of advice that you would give someone else who wants to start a career in hospitality?
Great question. I think about this all the time, and I wish somebody would have told me to know your story. So when I say that, I feel like it's so easy to not only know your story personally, but also professionally. What do you want to do? Where do you want to grow? What's the impact that you want to make? And the more that you can dive into that storytelling piece in hospitality, there's so much competition, there's so much noise, it's so easy to get distracted and feel like you're one of thousands. And in hospitality, people crave it, they want it. It's what people do at the end of the day outside of work. So as long as we know our story personally, professionally, of not only how we want to share that, but how we're making an impact through that and creating communication that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think that a lot of people can also struggle even with finding their story and their purpose. Do you have any maybe tips to help someone really figure out like what they want to do? Because I think that can be a struggle in and of itself.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I'm so big on lists. So when I talk about analytics and details, I'm a sucker for that. So pros and cons. So taking a look at what are things that I really enjoy doing? What are the things that I aspire to do? And then a third column that I always like to ask is what's the impact that I hope that the story and the legacy leaves for the next person or the next generation or the next group of people that I work with. When you put those 3 to 5 things together, you get a really good, robust look, 10 to 15 bullets that you can say, all right, now what's my story within these things? Where are the similarities? Where are the differences? And then how can I craft a personal message to share that and create experiences around that?
That's a great approach, and I think that's really great advice for so many people out there who
It's
are
hard.
like, I don't
It was
know,
a tried and
I don't know
true.
what to do, like figure
Yes.
it out. No, that's really incredible. So you mentioned before that Invited has a lot of different clubs, and each club is different. Can you explain some of the different types of clubs that Invited owns?
Absolutely.
And runs as well?
Yeah, so primarily our business is focused on golf and country clubs, and then we have a division that's our city and sports clubs. So within that, city clubs, like I just take a look at this beautiful venue, we are focused so much more there on our social aspect and our dining. So from an amenity perspective, the amenities are a little different. On the golf and country side, it's tennis, fitness, golf, you get a little bit of everything with dining, with an incredible experience around that. And then our stadium club business was mainly kind of similar to our city club business, but you have sports as the theme. And so it's such a fun, diverse portfolio across the board. And when it comes to member demographics and really diving into creating experiences around those, every club has that story that we keep talking about, but not only knowing that story, but building on the experiences around that. So if I have a golf and country club, let's say it's a newer, younger families moving into the neighborhood, but then we've got what we call our empty nesters. They love more of the cover bands. How can we find a group to support that from a music perspective and experience perspective? And so that's where our dynamic programming is what I like to call it, our variety of skill sets that go into that. And then same thing with city clubs. City clubs, the vibe is a vibe. And so you'll hear that a lot from a marketing experiential perspective, but music is such a big heartbeat for that at the center of our city clubs because you have these beautiful spaces, because we don't have, I say, just a different subset of amenities. And so experiences are huge, and that's why music is such a big part of that for those clubs too.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you find that in general there's a difference in the demographic for each type of club? So for example, golf clubs and city clubs, is there more of a younger demographic maybe for the city clubs or anything that you really noticed about
100%,
that?
yes. So think of if you were to go to the top of a high rise in downtown New York, and then the type of club that is more of your older traditional sense. We range in every demographic, and I think that's what I love so much about the name of our company, Invited. Everyone's invited. We want everyone to feel like it's a space that they can be and relax and have a second home to call home.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So just from a demographic perspective, all over the board is probably the best way to say it. But we're just grateful. We're so grateful to learn and have such incredible, diverse membership that really not only keeps us on our toes, but also reminds us of the things that matter. When you think just about life in general, life is meant to bring people together in some form or fashion. At the end of the day, that's what really matters. At least I believe that, because you can work so hard and you can be in your job and you can get caught up in the distraction. But if we're not in a space that's creating that for people to create those memories, then what are you doing in hospitality?
I love that. What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Ooh, that's a good one. Probably, so it's gonna make me think a little bit, to just be confident in knowing my story. I think it goes back to the same advice that I would give somebody getting into hospitality. Growing up, I think a lot of it was, I want to do something because I think it looks cool. I want to be a part of something because it's the new fad. I think it's neat, it's on trend, but there's so much more to life in a purposeful and impactful role. And I think when it goes back to that three-prong approach of knowing the things that you're good at, the things that you want to grow into, and then the impact that you want to make, that is the part of the storytelling piece that I would have loved to learn at a younger age.
Yeah, I love that. I love asking this question. I think it's just such great advice and thinking about everything, and when people think about like the advice they'd give their younger self,
Absolutely.
it's so personal as well and just so beautiful. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
So we were talking about how Invited Clubs has a very diverse demographic, a lot of different types of clubs, a lot of different markets overall.
Sure.
So although it is a membership club, how do you manage to still stay inclusive?
It's a great question. So I like to look at it as singulars versus steady is probably the strategy that I really like the team to focus on. You can go to an incredible concert or sporting event, but you get one shot as the team, as the venue, to really deliver on that experience. Within that inclusivity for us, from a steady perspective, we not only have to deliver on that singular experience every single time, but making it personalized. So I think it really goes back to that member personalization across the board within the diversity of the portfolio, within the diversity of not only just city clubs versus golf and country clubs, but how can we really make that feel like this is a home base for me, not just for 200 other people. So that's where those preferences come in, that's where onboarding comes in, that's where a lot of our personal engagement with our members goes such a long way to create an experience that not only delivers, but creates such an incredible place that they want to call home. And I know I keep going back to that, but at the end of the day, that's what really we hope sets us apart in the hospitality space. Is you can go to a great steakhouse, you can go to a great dining place, but if we're not creating a steady, consistent, personal experience, we're not doing our part. And so that's probably one of my favorite things.
That's amazing. I feel like this might even tie into what you were saying, but when you go about looking for new members, like recruiting new members to Invited, what are some of the strategies or some of the approach? What kind of inspires new people to join Invited?
Great question. So the experience, honestly, hands down, I think the minute somebody steps in our club, not only from the look and feel of the club, but we believe in three main ways to get there. So warm welcomes, magic moments, and fond farewells. You hear that a lot across our company. So how we do that, what is a warm welcome? You walk in, you see a smiling face, you get a handshake at the minimum. Hopefully it's an engaging conversation from there, but then a magic moment, we believe in surprise and delighting our members along the way. And so ensuring that we've got some really great personal ways that they can touch and be touched at the club. And then from just an overall fond farewell, making sure everybody leaves with a great memory. And so through experiences, delivering on that, I think a lot of times when we attract new members, it's either word of mouth, which goes back to knowing our story, how are we sharing that at the club, owning the narrative at the club, but then also the way that we carry ourselves within the club space. So how we treat people on a daily basis. They always talk about the golden rule. That is inside and out what we try to represent at our company.
That's incredible. Thank you for explaining like your approach to new members.
Sure.
How does the membership system work with Invited?
Yeah, so within the name of Invited, everybody is invited. We genuinely believe in that. That's such a core piece of our business. So in terms of membership, if you are interested in our club, come join us at the club. Come sit, come take a tour. We believe in making sure that everyone feels like it's a place that they can call home. So the minute that someone walks through the door, they walk you through different tiers. Every club has different tier of membership. We do have an overall invited network membership where you're able to add that on, but every club has their own membership for a home club. So it's just ensuring that we've got that dialed in and taken care of. But within that home club, we have multiple memberships, whether it's maybe you're a racket person, maybe you're a fitness person, maybe you want to just focus on golf, or if it's our city clubs, you really just want to be a part of the action and you want to be a part of what's happening in the city and from a dining perspective. So all access for sure at our clubs. There's no shortage of different types of memberships. But really, if whatever you're looking for, I would be very hard pressed to find if we can't find a good fit for you at our clubs.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for talking to me. You've been so
course.
generous with your time.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.